It's Wednesday, July 6th, and this is now on H&N.
Well, it really looks good for Josh Green, the Lieutenant Governor.
There's a new Civil Beat H&N poll that shows Lieutenant Governor Josh Green with a 30-point lead in the race for governor.
And he seriously contemplated using the firearm he had in his vehicle to commit another shooting.
The 21-year-old suspect in the Highland Park shooting that killed 7 people on the 4th of July makes his first appearance in court. I'm Chris Van Cleve. The new details we're learning coming up.
Turn it off. Place your hands behind your back.
HPD releases body cam footage of a state lawmaker's arrest on suspicion of DUI. These stories, plus we'll tell you what state is now home to the highest looping roller coaster in the country. Details coming up on This Is Now.
Good afternoon. Thanks for watching. This is Now. You got Jonathan and Ashley right here in the H&N Digital Center, and we've got a lot of news to get to today.
That's right. A new Civil Beat H&N poll shows Lieutenant Governor Josh Green with a commanding lead in the Democratic race for governor. That's today's Talker Story. Some 48% of Hawaii voters say they support Lieutenant Governor Josh Green. Meanwhile, 16% said they'd back Kahale and 15% said they plan to vote for Cayetano. Roughly 1 in 5 of those polled were still unsure who they plan to support. Here's Civil Beat's Chad Blair.
30 points is a huge lead. I mean, that's a very healthy double-digit lead. If you combine the two together, Kai Kahele and Vicky Cayetano, you still don't have enough numbers to surpass Josh Green. So I'm not going to try and pretend that it's not an uphill battle for Kai Kahele and Vicky Cayetano. I'm just saying that you never know. And you're right, Ultimately, it is up to the voter to make the decision.
Green's support was most pronounced among Hawaii voters 50 years and up, some 54% of whom said they'd support him. Among those 18 to 49 years old, some 38% said they would vote for him.
The ballots are going out July 26th, and the election itself is August 13th. That's barely 6 weeks away. So really what we're hearing from our pollsters, and I got to give credit to my co-writer, Kiona Blanks, she found out that people that like Josh Green, sure enough, it's because he's a doctor. That's very reassuring. He's compassionate. He was there during the pandemic. And there's no coincidence that he's running a lot of ads with that stethoscope and those hospital scrubs. But Kai Kahele and Vicky Cayetano are trying to pick apart his record and say, is that all he's got? All he has to run on is his COVID response? We did hear from one voter who says they like Vicky Cayetano. They're worried about where Josh Green gets all this money. One other plug for Kai Kahele, one of our readers said, I like the fact that he's born and raised here. He's local. To me, that's important if you're going to represent Hawaii at the governorship.
According to the poll, Green also has strong support across Hawaii's largest ethnic groups, including those who identify as Caucasians, Japanese, and Filipinos. Some 35% of Native Hawaiians and Pacific Islanders said they would support Green, compared to 32% who said they'd back Kahele, who is Native Hawaiian. Green, who is an ER doctor on Hawaii Island, got the most support from Hawaii County. Kahele, who is from Hawaii County, saw his strongest support on Kauai, and Cayetano got the most support from Maui.
There is still time. There's debates, there's forums, there's interviews that we're doing here on Hawaii News Now with Civil Beat, so they can still persuade voters. Remember, Dewey defeats Truman, that famous headline from 1948. Nobody thought Trump was going to beat Hillary Clinton, not many anyway, in 2016.
The Civil Beat H&N poll was conducted from June 28th to the 30th and included 782 voters. The margin of error was plus or minus 4%.
Turn it off. Place your hands behind your back.
HPD released video of State Representative Matt Lopresti's arrest on suspicion of drunk driving. The officer who made the arrest says he smelled of alcohol. Instead of a breathalyzer, Lopresti did a blood test, and those results are still pending. Our Jolani Martinez shows us what the video reveals.
Lopresti declined to speak with us for this story, but the video shows him trying to avoid being arrested in Ewa Beach the night of June 16th. The officer found Lopresti pulled over in a bicycle lane near Fort Weaver and Geiger Roads.
Are you willing to participate in a standardized field sobriety test?
No, I haven't done anything wrong.
Did you? You said no, you don't want to participate in a standardized field sobriety test?
No, I haven't done anything wrong. I just stopped and we were talking.
The video, edited by HPD for privacy and confidentiality, shows State Representative Matthew Lopresti appearing to refuse a field sobriety test. The officer pressed for a clear answer.
I don't understand why that's relevant.
It's relevant because you're behind the wheel of a car, vehicle is in motion, ready for motion.
The officer, Stephen Chun, says Lopresti's car inched forward twice before his body cam was turned on, and that he believed Lopresti was trying to bait him into coercion.
So you gave me no indication of what the consequences were, because I'd be glad to take
Matthew, that's
sobriety.
considered coercion. If I tell you what the consequences are, if you take a test and fail, that's considered coercion.
I think the officer was being careful, perhaps overly careful, but he's damned if you do and damned if you don't. So you can't blame the officer either. It's just one of those situations where, because of everything that happened and no driving or nothing, it's going to be hard to convict.
You're lying.
I'm not lying, Matthew.
And it's really upsetting.
Matthew, I never lied once tonight.
In the 3 videos captured that night, Lopresti insists that his vehicle never moved. He and his passenger said they stopped drinking, quote, hours ago.
I didn't see any kind of slurring. When he got out of the car, I didn't see him stumble or anything. He actually got in and out of the blue and white pretty good.
That was the DA First Watch Lieutenant. Said that he's a politician. I didn't know that. I don't know who this guy is. Not like I'd give him special treatment anyway, so.
Lopresti's arrest comes 16 months after State Rep Sharon Har refused to take blood or breath tests after driving the wrong way on Baratania Street. That is allowed for first-time offenders, but the driver automatically loses their license for 2 years. However, if the driver takes a test and is drunk, they're automatically jailed for 48 hours.
It's almost better to refuse to be tested than take a test just because of the mandatory jail if you're over 0.15.
Jelani Martinez, Hawaii News Now.
New today, Donald Trump's former White House counsel, Pat Cipollone, has agreed to testify for the January 6th committee. He will reportedly give a private, transcribed interview on Friday, and the next public hearing is scheduled for Tuesday. It's set to focus on the rise of violent extremist groups that attack the Capitol. Authorities say the suspected gunman in the July 4th Highland Park, Illinois massacre admitted his actions to police and indicated he wanted to wage a second assault. Chris Van Cleve has the latest details from the scene.
The suspect in the Highland Park July 4th parade shooting showed no emotion during a virtual court appearance Wednesday. He's currently facing 7 counts of first-degree murder.
The judge found that the evidence was at such a level that he could be held without bond. Also, because the fact that it is a mandatory life sentence.
Investigators say while in custody, Robert Cremo III gave a voluntary statement admitting guilt in Monday's attack and revealed he considered another shooting when he briefly fled to Wisconsin.
He did see a celebration that was occurring in Madison, and he seriously contemplated using the firearm he had in his vehicle to commit another shooting.
Prosecutors told the court police found 83 shell casings and 3 magazines on the rooftop where prosecutors say the suspect launched the attack that killed 7 and wounded more than 30 others.
And everyone just started running for cover.
During the shooting, Gregory and Dana Ring rushed their children to a parking garage where they encountered a blood-covered toddler in the arms of a trembling Good Samaritan. They took the boy home with them.
He was happy. He was
fine.
He was
playing with our smallest daughter. They're watching cartoons together.
The Rings later learned both of little Aiden's parents were killed in the attack. Among the many questions, how the suspect was able to legally purchase 5 firearms despite 2 encounters with police in 2019 involving threats of violence to himself or others. The 21-year-old is due back in court in late July, where he'll likely face a cascade of additional charges. Chris Van Cleve, CBS News, Highland Park, Illinois.
Hawaii on Wednesday reported 20 additional COVID-related deaths and 4,381 new cases in the past 7 days. That compares to 5,362 cases and 15 additional deaths in the previous week. The state's COVID figures do not include positive at-home tests, so the real number is likely far higher. Concern is mounting in North Korea, where COVID is spreading, despite claims from Pyongyang that the virus has only claimed a few dozen lives so far. As Paula Hancock reports, the fight to contain the situation is only made worse by a struggling healthcare system and malnourishment.
2 months into a COVID-19 outbreak, which Kim Jong-un called the greatest turmoil in his country's history, North Korea claims the worst is over. A pandemic that ravaged the rest of the world has claimed just 73 lives so far, according to Pyongyang's figures, a claim universally doubted.
The COVID-19 situation North Korean state media is reporting is quite different to what other countries experienced after an outbreak. So I have some questions.
The world feared an Omicron outbreak amidst an unvaccinated, malnourished population with primitive healthcare could be catastrophic. The UN's Special Rapporteur for Human Rights in North Korea says he's still not able to dispel that fear.
We have some reports about vulnerable people like elder, some children with nutritional problems dying due to COVID. But again, it's very difficult to confront that information at this point.
Choi Jong-hun fled North Korea 11 years ago. He says he worked as a doctor during a measles outbreak in 2006. To diagnose and treat cases, he says he was given just thermometers.
If we have patients with measles or influenza, all we can do is to tell them which medicine they need and how much to take. There's nothing else we can do as we had no medicine at the hospital.
Kim Jong-un toured pharmacies in Pyongyang in May, ordering the military to stabilize medical supplies. But defectors say in reality, patients have to buy their own medicine in local markets, imported or smuggled in from China. Closed borders and recent lockdowns mean there is likely little left.
We were frustrated because the government funded missile programs, not healthcare.
Dr. Ki Park is an American neurosurgeon who used to visit North Korea twice a year to work alongside doctors there before the COVID pandemic.
They struggled to supply the hospital with some of the things that we take for granted. And when they do have some of these supplies, they reuse things until they're unusable.
He says scalpels were reused until they were blunt, but points to recent Chinese customs data from January to April this year, showing Pyongyang imported 1,000 ventilators, more than 10 million masks, and more than 2,000 kilograms of vaccine. Global Vaccine Alliance Gavi said last month they understood North Korea has accepted COVID vaccines from China and started to administer doses.
We spoke to one defector who didn't want to be on camera as her whole family is still in the north. But she said she spoke to them by phone a week after the announcement of the COVID outbreak, and they weren't too concerned about the virus. She says what they were extremely concerned about is the food situation, even going so far as to say it was worse than it had been during the late 1990s, when North Korea suffered a devastating and deadly famine.
Urging the government of North Korea, but also parties involved in the Korean Peninsula understand that there is a serious risk about starvation in North Korea.
COVID-19 not the only deadly threat to North Korea. Paula Hancock's CNN Seoul.
United Airlines is sounding the alarm, telling its staff there are more summer flights than air traffic controllers can handle, and that issue will contribute to more flight disruptions this summer. So this news comes from United's chief operating officer, who voiced his frustration in a memo to staff, saying until there are more air traffic controllers, they expect the U.S. aviation system to remain challenged this summer. He noted the situation is especially bad in New York and Florida. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg met with the heads of airlines last month, and he says he disagrees with those statements from the COO. The secretary says air traffic control staffing is not to blame for most delays and cancellations this summer. He says there are other issues at play, like airlines pushing pilots into early retirement.
It's great news that demand is back and people are returning to the skies, but the airlines need to be prepared to service the tickets that they sell.
A large majority, 97% in fact, of U.S. hotels say they're understaffed. Now that's according to a survey from the American Hotel and Lodging Association, and about half of the 500 hotels polled last month said they were severely understaffed. The group says it's trying to fill 130,000 vacant positions nationwide. And with more on this, here's CBS News Senior Travel Advisor Peter Greenberg.
Most hotels are getting, believe it or not, 23% higher rates now than they got in 2019, but they're offering fewer services, and many hotels are capping their occupancy at only 60%. Not because the demand isn't there, they don't have the staff to support it.
Now, there's another side to all this. Unite Here Local 5's contracts with some of the major hotels in Waikiki expired last week. The union says that impacts over 5,000 hotel workers. There have been rallies in recent days. You can see that here in this video. Workers say despite increased hotel occupancy and higher average daily room rates, work hours have not been restored because some employers refuse to resume resort services, including no daily room cleanings in some hotels.
International travelers are coming back in big numbers. Casey Lund takes a look at the importance of this market to our economy.
Aloha from the Hawaii Convention Center. In 2019, there were plenty multinational organizations that were happy to host their conventions or large meetings here. And if you drive by the convention center nowadays, it's pretty rare to see a whole lot of activity. But we talked to local travel experts that focus on international tourism, and they say interest in booking those large events is slowly coming back. Eric Takahata of Hawaii Tourism Japan says there are still several things deterring Japanese visitors from returning to Hawaii, namely that surcharge on fuel costs, about an extra $600 per person for those folks to fly here. He says that, coupled with the fact that you still have to take a PCR test to return to Japan, is keeping some of them from coming back in bigger numbers.
Right now, currently, it's about $600, a little over $600 per person, round trip. To travel to Hawaii. So you can imagine family of 4 times 6, about $2,400 for a family of 4 to come here just on the fuel surcharge.
However, they are staying longer and spending more.
Spending is up, and which is a good thing, right? And so it's slightly up from 2019, but we're seeing the average length of stay for the Japanese visitor go up, and it's gone up by 3 days. We were up around 6 days pre-pandemic. Right now, we're at about 9 days per person.
Earlier this morning, we went to Waikiki to see if we could find some international visitors. We were able to talk to one doctor from Japan who's visiting Hawaii for the very first time.
I'm staying at Beach Caravan Hotel, and tomorrow I try diving.
Oh, scuba diving?
Yeah, scuba diving.
What has the hotel been like? How has your stay been?
Oh, very nice.
Very nice.
Very everyday good sleep.
You get some rest, and do you get room service as well?
Oh, very good.
Very good.
Yes.
Very good. Looking ahead, Takahata says there are several occasions and holidays and other big events like the Honolulu Marathon that will bring a lot more visitors from Japan to the islands.
Pre-pandemic, you had around 30,000 runners a year. Half of that were Japanese. So we don't know what the numbers are going to be for this year, which is the biggest event for the Japanese, on an annual basis.
Even that recent big milestone of the first flying Honu from All Nippon Airlines coming back to Hawaii on July 1st was sort of a drop in the bucket. That day, 822 visitors came in from Japan. Compare that to nearly 5,000 that flew in on the same day in 2019. Reporting at the Hawaii Convention Center, I'm Casey Lund. For now, we'll send things back to you.
Thank you very much, Casey, for that update. We have a live picture coming in. It just froze briefly, but I think we'll get it back here in just a second. This is from KUSA in Denver. You can tell what we're looking at. They're dealing with severe weather there in the Denver area. Severe weather threatening that area in several counties there. Severe weather warnings and tornado warnings. Maybe that's not going to come back for us. But as you can see, it looks pretty dark and gloomy. Here at home, nothing like that. Some gorgeous summer weather out there for the next couple of days, but there are some winds out there that we need to watch out for. Let's turn things over to Billy V with more on that.
Thursday through Sunday, and it's pretty much the same weather every day. 15 to 20 mile per hour winds, moderate winds, partly cloudy skies. Daytime high going to be about 87, 88 degrees. After that, the winds will pick up and get a little bit breezier. But today, breezy as well. 15 to 25 mile per hour winds, partly cloudy skies. Daytime high 88, and the windward sides will see a little bit more moist weather. There'll be windward and Mauka showers drifting leeward at times, and Kaneohe, you may get some breezy winds, especially this afternoon, gusts up to 40 miles per hour.
Amusement park and roller coaster fans, listen up because we've got a story for you. And I'm not saying I'm the biggest roller coaster fan.
I am. I love them.
Oh, you do? Okay, well, check this out. Colorado is now home to the highest looping roller coaster in the country. It's called the Defiance, and you can find it at Glenwood Caverns Adventure Park in Glenwood Springs, Colorado. And you can see right here, it's built into the side of a mountain and features a 102-degree turn, or I think drop, and then a 110-foot free-fall drop. It's the steepest free-fall drop in the western United States. The park said the new coaster reaches speeds of 56 miles per hour and has a 98-foot twisted top hat switch. That's what it's called, those little spiral things.
I love it.
Twisted top hat switch in 111-foot. Oh, here's some more video for you. Sorry about that. 111-foot high-speed bank banana roll, and that's when it's just sort of turning really fast, I think, in a banana
it. Looks
shape.
fun.
It looks super fun and super cool views. I'm hearing too.
I bet. Well, tonight on CBS, the premiere of The Challenge USA. Now, the all-new edition of MTV's hit reality global franchise features 28 fan favorites from Survivor, Big Brother, The Amazing Race, and Love Island. Now, they battle against each other for their share of a $500,000 prize. Now, Jonathan, you know I like the MTV version.
Yeah.
And, you know, they don't have the MTV cast in here, so I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it.
Yeah, I think CBS is expecting a lot out of it. I think also debuting this week Big Brother.
Okay.
Yeah, new Big Brother. It's in the 20-something season, too. All right, let's talk about some movies coming out. Here's Rick Damigella with more on that.
He reclaimed his title as the one and only Thor. Oh, spoke too soon.
Jane? Chris Hemsworth is back, but someone else wields the power and name of the mighty Thor.
What's it been, like 3-4 years?
8 years, 7 months and 6 days, give or take. Thor Love and Thunder marks Natalie Portman's return to the franchise after 2013's Thor The Dark World.
To say that Jane was going to become the mighty Thor in this one was really, really just an incredible opportunity and really like a once-in-a-lifetime possibility.
So that's the ex-girlfriend, is it?
The old ex-girlfriend.
Jodie Foster.
Jane Foster.
The one that got away.
The one that got away.
Yeah, it was really an amazing opportunity to have this kind of dual side, that she's human and a superhero, and then how each affects the other. And to imagine what that feeling is to like have the powers and then not have them is also just emotionally interesting.
Let's bring the rainbow.
Bring the rainbow, is that a catchphrase or something?
You have to like carry yourself differently. You have to have a different bearing. So I did train a lot, but there's also a lot of movie magic, of course, involved in the transformation.
It's just my first bad guy.
You never forget your first. In Hollywood, I'm Rick Damigella.
Another big movie, people are talking about Avatar, and the director coming out in his defense because fans are really trolling him, saying the first one was too long. So he's like, wait and see how long this one is. So Avatar also in the news.
All right, looks like Natalie got some guns for Thor.
I love her.
Yeah. So check this out, you guys. The Bracco, it's an ancient Italian bird hunting dog. It's the 200th member of the American Kennel Club's roster of recognized breeds. Now that means the handsome, powerful, but amiable pointers can now go for Best in Show at many U.S. dog shows, including the prestigious Westminster Kennel Club event next year.
But can he beat Trumpet?
I don't know. Trumpet's pretty cute.
Yeah, I love Trumpet. You guys, that's it for This Is Now. We made it halfway through that work week. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.